Meanwhile, I'm going to bring my guests in. I'm actually interested in having your thoughts on this as well, right? This is an amazing investigative reporter, does great work at the Gray Zone. Always love having you on. Welcome to our Ben, our friend, Wyatt Reed. How you doing, man?
What's up, Wyatt?
I'm all right. Good to see you guys. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on the show.
Always.
And I just want to get your reaction because we're going to cover your article regarding anti-Semitism because I believe these two things are connected because they were shifting the conversation against regarding colonialism and trying to make it a generational war. Like that's what people love: boomer versus Gen Z, millennials versus boomers. But it always was a black and decolonization movement regarding Israel Palestine. That's what I acknowledged very early. So I just want your general reaction. I know you watched a little bit of this psyop trying to recruit Black Americans to design this project. And welcome to the show once again, Wyatt. And then we can move on.
Yeah, thanks again. And what you're describing, it's not new. Honestly, if we can pull that headline back up, I wanted to mention something about it because there's kind of an unexamined sort of
let me pull it back.
claim.
Let me pull it back
No,
up.
no worries. I actually really I like this. No, the one after. Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
I like this headline because the unspoken assertion here, right, is that if you stand in solidarity with Palestinians, that is somehow like necessarily going to create problems with Jews.
Exactly.
That basically anyone standing in solidarity will necessarily test your ties with Jews, which is just a wild premise that any form of Palestinian solidarity is basically inherently anti-Semitic. That's kind of what this headline says without saying it.
Yeah,
So I just wanted
that's
I just
perfect.
wanted to point that out, just in terms of because that's like it's so glaring to me once you think about it. Like you're testing test, and then you're right. You start to think about long-standing ties. Well, I mean, we know about, for example, MLK. Members of his family have frequently been kind of trotted out by the Zionist lobby to kind of have black community leaders to point to be like, oh well, if this guy said it, obviously he speaks on with a moral authority of all of Black America, and that's kind of been the long-term Zionist lobbying strategy. Was we'll get a few people, we'll get some Bayard Rustins here and there, we'll get the NAACP, and we're going to invite them to some fancy dinners, and we're going to talk a lot of pablum about our shared persecution, even though we really don't have anything like the same experience, especially in modern day America. And then, that'll be enough because there's no one else doing anything on the other side to just keep these people off our backs for a while, right? And that's kind of been the attitude that the Israeli lobby has always had towards Black America. And you saw this kind of bubble over in 2014. You saw this bubble over when BLM kind of became a flashpoint, and you would see sort of the same kind of Palestinian solidarity that had always been pretty popular among like Black activist circles. You saw that come out again. And then you saw this same cycle that we're now seeing now, where it's like, oh, we saw a bunch of think pieces worried about, oh, what does this mean about, Black Jewish ties, that all of a sudden these activists are saying nice things about Palestinians and they're drawing conclusions, they're drawing connections between their treatment here and the treatment of Palestinians in Israel, and the fact that so many of the police that are brutalizing people here learned how to do that from Israeli cops on special trips, and vice versa, right? They're collaborating, they're colluding to do effectively long-term the same thing, which is learn how to brutalize a population that does not want you there, and to just act like run roughshod over them, treat them like they're not there, and keep them silent the whole time. And that was the name of the game, and it worked for a very long time. Now it's not working, and so you're seeing these kind of crocodile tears. You're seeing these kinds of hand wringing and moaning and whining about all this alleged anti-Semitism. Of course, no one can ever produce any evidence of any. Right? Every time you hear about some horrible story of like, oh, they called that girl. There was a recent one they said some girl who's protesting called Jewish students a kike, which is like a really very, very bad thing to call a Jewish person. And then people look back at this video, and it got tens of thousands of likes before, you know, all these Zionists really losing their minds, totally convinced, you know, that Glasnost is right around the corner. And then people start to realize, oh, she's just saying like. She's not saying, she's saying like. That's
Yeah,
what
they
she's
fake
saying
so
in the
much
video.
shit.
Right. And it was like every single video that came out that accused that insisted there was some kind of mass anti-Semitic event. This kept happening. This has kept happening. There's not a single video that I have seen that hasn't yet to be debunked that actually shows an act of like mass anti-Semitism, an act of more than one deranged person doing something, you know, a collective response from any of these protests. I haven't seen a single one. And you know why I think that matters is because if that existed, we would have been watching it for the past 2 months nonstop.
Exactly.
It would have been
Exactly.
played over and over and
Exactly.
over again on every single news channel. So it doesn't exist.